This is a special presentation from Mix TV.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Mayo, and I'm the publisher of the Sequoyah County Times here in Sallisaw. Tonight's forum is being brought to you by the Mix KXMX and the Sequoyah County Times, and we are at the People Inc. Conference Center. This forum is being streamed and televised, so please silence your cell phones. We want to thank the People Inc. for hosting this event. They've done so for more than a decade, and it's a great place, and it's such a good thing for our town to have this facility available. The primary election day is Tuesday, June 16th. We want to thank our candidates for their interest in leading our county and state to greater prosperity. Tonight's forum, we have 3 races here. We have the State Senate for District 4, covering northern Sequoyah County, parts of Cherokee and Delaware counties, and all of Adair County. And also candidates for County Commissioner District 3 and our county assessor. There are no other counties for our county commission and assessor, no Democrats or independents. So whoever wins this primary will take that office. For Senate District 4, the Republican primary winner will face off against Democrat Ellen Cuff in the November election. For these races, they're all Republican candidates, and Oklahoma has a closed primary, so if you're not registered as a Republican, you cannot vote on June 16th. The deadline to change your registration was March 31st, and you can't, again, have your change go activated until September 1st. Tonight's format, each candidate will have up to 3 minutes for an opening and closing statement, and each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer a question. We're going to rotate through each office, starting with the Senate race, and then I'll be keeping time, and Shannon Van is our moderator. Shannon's a native of Sallisaw. He served as Sallisaw mayor for 12 years and later as city commissioner. Shannon has been a State Farm insurance agent in Sallisaw for 29 years, and we want to thank him for taking the time to come up with our questions as well as asking them tonight. The candidates tonight are incumbent State Senator for District 4, Tom Woods, and challenger Kenny Smith. For County Commissioner, or County Assessor, we have incumbent Brandy Allen and challenger Roger Crawford. And for District 3 County Commissioner, we have challengers Jason Brooks and Joel Stump. One last note, the Sequoyah County Times in tomorrow's issue has a primary voter guide. Want to encourage you all to pick up a copy of the Sequoyah County Times. The voter guide covers every state office, as well as the state questions and our local races. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Shannon.
Okay. All right. As Jeff mentioned, we're going to start with and I think we're going to go through the introductions all the way across. Okay, so we'll start with the introductions. To start the process, we'll start on our left here with the state senate candidates. So Mr. Kenny Smith, you'll be first up to give your introduction.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is Kenny Smith, and I'm running to be your next state senator for District 4. And I want to thank KXMX and Sequoyah County Times for hosting this and for us to be here with the good people in District 4 and say hi and to talk about the issues and the vision that we feel like that the people deserve for District 4. I've been in the Gore area all my life, was born over north of Gore, actually in Muskogee, grew up there at Gore, and we still live there at Gore. And I'm glad to be here also with my lovely wife, my high school sweetheart, for a few years, that's what we'll say. I do have my family here, my son and his wife, lovely wife, she's there, and then the grandbabies. So, and just a host of people that we really know and love. And so it's good to be here with you tonight and talk about who we are and then talk about the issues. But as I said, I come from Gore, Oklahoma, and my parents was Lonzo and Mary Smith there. My father, he was a carpenter and also a pastor and a rancher. Everything I said it wouldn't be, I guess he instilled it within us, and here we are a few years later. But he was also a Korean veteran, and we really love our family. We are very thankful for the heritage that we received from them. Like I said, he was part of the trades. We grew up in the trades, and so matter of fact, in my high school year, we went to the NMDO Tech, and we started in the trades there half a year. Matter of fact, my cousin is here with me. We started our company together, roofing, half of a day from the Votech trade, but we went on to get HVAC license, journeyman's license, PP1, pipe fitter, and so we've been a part of the trades all of our life. And we love the trades. We've not been in the political arena, never aspired to be in it, but we really felt the Lord deal with us that we needed some godly people that would really step up and do right by the people and by the Constitution. And so that's one of the reasons that we started. We have to blame God for this. And, you know, when God calls you to something, you know, you just surrender and say, "Here am I, Lord." And then the second reason is that we begin to look at the political arena, and we got seeing that the political arena was not working for the people. And so ours is to step in and surrender to that and really begin to work for the people once again. So thank you for this time, and it's good to see everybody, and we look forward to talking with you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Tom Woods.
Thank y'all for having me. Can you hear me all right? So I'm Tom Woods. I was born in eastern Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas. Been in Westville my whole life. I was born in '95 on a dairy farm, and Dad worked at a factory over in Siloam Springs, and Mom at a Little Debbie plant over in Gentry. And before they started the dairy in '95, you know, they had a little farm and a few stock cows, and when Mom was working at Little Debbie and Dad was working in northwest Arkansas, they had one truck. Mom would drive and drop Dad off, and she'd go on to work and come back home, pick him up, and that's how they started, just two people with nothing and no kids, and just a young couple trying to make it, and that was long before I come along. But in '93, they started a dairy on 80 acres, and then I come along in '95. I'm one of six, and they also, Mom and Dad, wanted a big family. They had two kids that were born with disabilities, Tasha and Trace. I've got an older sister named Tasha, and she progressed to about the age of 5 and has a rare disease where she lost her ability to speak and walk. And then I had a younger brother below me. He was the last child Mom and Dad had, and he also had the same thing, and he passed away at 18. So we were really married to a milk barn, but if you've ever been in a part of a family with someone with a disability, you know, it really keeps you home. And you know, as a young person, I really didn't travel around much, and all I ever wanted to do was milk cows like Mom and Dad, and I got the pleasure to do that. At 18, I bought my teacher's dairy out on a place called Chew Road, and I bought their dairy out and rented it and started milking cows, and never dreamed I'd ever run for office. You know, my family wasn't that political, and all I wanted to do was be an 80-year-old dairy farmer, and I'd still be milking cows right now if the market hadn't turned sideways. But started milking cows in 2013 and milked all the way to 2019, and the dairy deal was just a hard way to make a living. And I read a deal the other day that said I think there's only 60 dairies left in the entire state. And so I sold out in 2019 and switched over to running stock cows in a feed store, and I got my CDLs and started trucking. Hauled a lot of feed out of the Midwest, out of Sioux City, Iowa, and when I started that feed store, though, hauling feed into myself but into customers, that's really where I started kind of getting interested in politics, dealing with the state government through the feed store, and then dealing with the FMCSA through trucking. And so those things right there really make up the bulk of my life experience before I ran for office. And dealing with the state and federal government, you know, government moves slow. And me as a small business owner at the time, it was just frustrating. And as a young person trying to get somewhere with a high debt load, I didn't have time to wait on a state agency to get back with me, and a lot of my customers felt the same way. And so when I ran for office, I was 27 and just got out there and beat the bushes and advocated for my positions and was honored to get hired. And I'll talk more on all that as we get started, but it's the greatest honor of my life to get one term, and I'm asking to get rehired, and I try to get my cell number out to anybody that wants it, but it has been the greatest honor of my life to serve District 4 from here to Grove. So I appreciate y'all for coming out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. All right, we'll move to the candidates for District Commissioner, for County Commissioner, District 3.
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Thank Shannon for moderating. Thank the mix and the paper. And, you know, for you guys that don't know me, I'm Jason Brooks, and I'm a lifelong resident of Sequoyah County in District 3. My wife, Brandy, and I, we been married for 30 years. We have 2 children, our son Coy and our daughter Jaylee and her husband Tanner. And we also have 2 grandbabies that pretty much rule the roost around our place when they're there. And we're also members of the Rocky Point Baptist Church. We attended there for over 30 years. And we raise cattle on our family farm up north of town here. And for the past 29 years, I've owned and operated a successful concrete business and doing commercial and residential work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Joel Stump.
Hello, my name is Joel Stump. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for the invite here for this. A little something about me. Lifelong resident of Sequoyah County and been here my whole life. Married to my wife, Leslie. We have 2 beautiful kids, boy, Max, and little girl, Maddie Bell. I've owned and operated my own flooring business for over 25 years. You deal with the public day in and day out doing that. Something I'm really proud of. In 2021, got hired on to be a fireman for the city of Sallisaw, and that is really something I'm proud of. Going on 26 years of doing that. I've worked my way up from just being a fireman that didn't know too much about anything to assistant chief. Really proud of that. Work day in and day out doing that, and helping the city of Sallisaw, the citizens. We go outside the county, just wherever we're called, we'll go. I'm used to doing that, used to helping the public out. And I feel like that I can do more, and that's why I'm running for county commissioner, to be a voice for the citizens and do my best to represent those. But again, been 26 plus years of service to the citizens, and feel like I need to do more, and I can do more. I'm young enough to do that. Would love to have a shot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stump. And we'll move to the candidates for county assessor. We'll start with Ms. Brandy Allen.
Good evening. Thank you guys for coming. Thanks, Shannon. Thanks all these nice fine gentlemen up here with me. My name is Brandy Allen, and I have been the Sequoyah County Assessor since 2021 when I was appointed to fulfill my predecessor's term. And then in 2022, I was honored to run unopposed for the Sequoyah County Assessor's Office. I have been in that office since 2016. In that time, I have seen that office change so much, and we keep changing and growing and building, and I'm really proud of all the work that my team has put forward to get that office in a proper manner. And we do so much in that office that I know a lot of people don't see. It's the underneath, the underground part that the taxpayers don't see them doing. But sorry, I kind of got off on a rant there, but I believe that my experience matters. The 20 plus years that I have done some form of real estate. My first adult job was a Valley girl at Valley Land and Title. I was there for almost 10 years. I then went and did some oil and gas research for a little bit. I was in the banking industry. I did some collections at Arvest Bank for a few years. I went on to work with Cherokee Nation in their mortgage assistance program for a little bit. And from there, I went back to the county where I was close to home, because when you work at a title company, you also kind of work with the courthouse too. So it felt like going home, and I'm glad I did. And I have been in the county courthouse since 2013. I love what we do, and I'm hoping that everyone will give us a chance to keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roger Crawford.
Good evening. Glad to see everyone out this evening. I'd like to thank Shannon and Jeff for inviting me to this. And I'm from Salisal, graduated Salisal High School in 1983, served 2 years in the Army, came back in 1985, started working for the county assessor here, worked from 85 to 94, then got hired on with a private firm from, used to be 94 till 2009, I guess it was, and then I've had my own company since then, but I've got 41 years experience doing appraisal property, doing appraising, and all of it's been for the county assessor, not just this county, but there's 6 other counties in the state that I have done work for. The last 16 years I've been at Eufaula doing their appraisal work. I'm the only appraiser down there, and I do all the work by myself. There's 30-something thousand parcels that I look at each year. I do it all myself, and like I said, I've got 41 years experience of doing it, and I said I'd never be into politics. Didn't want nothing to do with it because I've been around it for the 41 years, but it's something that God's laid on my heart to do. As Kenny said, I got to follow through on it. If that's where he wants me to be, that's where I'm going to be. But, thank you, guys, and I appreciate you all coming out tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. All right, so introductions complete. We'll start with some questions, and the way we're going to do this, we're going to start again back to our left, and the candidates right before the start of the forum, they drew for who was going to go first. So tonight we're going to start with the state senate candidates, and the same question will be posed to both of you, and I'll repeat the question when the second person comes up. So we'll start with Mr. Smith with the first question. And again, the candidates have not seen these questions. I devised them, created them, whatever you want to call it. And I'll be honest with you, state Senate questions, they're pretty easy because there's such a broad range of topics that voters across the state have an interest in. A little bit more narrow in the county commissioners candidates as to what interests folks in the local area. And then county assessor is such a specialized function, that's really a difficult position to ask a lot of questions because it's so technical. But I did my best, I promise, guys. So no candidate has seen the questions. So Mr. Smith, we'll start with the first question, and I always try to start with an easy one. So,
All right, thank you.
So we're going to talk about state income tax.
Okay.
Both the governor and members of the legislature have proposed plans over the years to eliminate state income tax in Oklahoma. Income tax provides approximately 40 to 50% of the state's appropriated budget. What services, agencies, or programs would be cut to match the loss of revenue to the Oklahoma state government, or what other sources of revenue would be used to replace the income tax?
Okay, thank you for that question. When I look at situations like this, I try to step out of the box and look at them. I grew up and we were told this is what you do. Get in the box, this is how you pay, and this is what it pays for. But we're in a day where we're having really intelligent people come and say, hey, we've been in the box, let's open the door, let's create a new path. Let's try to make it to where it's not harming the people, and we can take the burden off and create new avenues to where we can fund what we need to fund. And so mine is to have people around me, like people that started Ford Company, or Walmart. Tap people like that and say, look, I know you don't think in the box. People tell you can't do this, but intelligent people can always figure out a way to come up with the money to do what we need to do and still facilitate what we need to do. And so mine is to create creative thought and then try to get around people that can step out of the box and not just march and say, this is the way it is. We've done it all our life. There's no other way. I'm very thankful for people that can create things to help us. And so mine is to work with people like that. I've often thought, how sad it would be if we still had the outhouse, marching in the box, 2-seaters, 3-seaters, back then they said, if we put something in the house like this, it would literally kill us. But, I'm thankful that someone decided that we could vent things, and now we can do the outhouse and the in-house. So I think that there's a way, if we just bring intelligent people together, we can find a path forward and eliminate things that need to be done to help the people.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Woods? I'm going to repeat the question, so you.
Yes, sir.
Regarding the state income tax, both the governor and members of the legislature have proposed plans to eliminate state income tax in Oklahoma over a various amount of time. The income tax provides approximately 40 to 50% of the state's appropriated budget. What services, agencies, or programs would be cut to match the loss of revenue to the Oklahoma state government, or what other sources of revenue would be used to replace the income tax?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. Yeah, your state income tax is about $4 billion. It funds schools, water, infrastructure. You know, something called the Roads Fund. It's a little over $500 million of appropriated dollars that's being funded by your state income tax. We actually voted on that recently by a senator up north of us named Senator Bergstrom, and his proposal, which I did vote on and voted yes on, put us on a pathway to zero with triggers in there if the economy was to go backwards. Knock on wood, that don't happen, and the Oklahoma economy continues to grow. But in that bill there was triggers to slowly wean us off the need for state income tax dollars for those various agencies. And you know, the thought process there was that the lower the state income tax over time is, it'll attract more jobs, and people will be making more money, and a rising tide lifts all boats. So the thought process there was that over time the income stream would come in from somewhere else, because people would be building new homes and buying more things, and the tax would then be on what people are buying, not necessarily on their income, because as manufacturers and people relocated here, there'd be more people making more money here. So that was kind of the thought process on there, with some safeguards that in the event that that wasn't the case, that those triggers would protect that budget to where that state agencies like ODOT, OWRB, and Public Ed wouldn't be harmed in an attempt to race to zero a little quicker than the economy could keep up with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. All right. We'll move now to the county commissioner candidates, and Mr. Stump drew the straw for the first hole. And for your question, let's see. Make sure I got these off here. We'll start with probably what every one of you have heard on the campaign trail as county commissioner candidates. So we'll talk about road and bridge infrastructure funding. The maintenance backlog for Sequoyah County's district roads and bridges remains a persistent challenge. I think people always talk about roads. It doesn't matter how long the state has existed. So given the limited annual budget for road and bridge maintenance, how will you weigh the needs of high-traffic main county roads versus the less traveled yet equally essential rural dirt roads within District 3? So describe your prioritization strategy. Will it be based upon condition, traffic volume, safety concerns? What will be your strategy for determining which roads receive maintenance versus those which are scheduled for major rehabilitation?
Well, I think that there's always going to be, in everything that you do, there's always going to be the roads that's always going to come first, and that is going to be the more traveled roads. And I'm not saying that all of them needs to be taken care of. And I think if you listen to the public, they'll let you know where you need to start and where the bad roads are. I mean, you just got to listen to the public and be a voice for them, but also take in consideration that the more traveled roads, as far as population and those roads are gonna you've got to get emergency vehicles there, school buses, people's got to get in and out to work. There's always going to be roads that need to be taken care of, but I think if you have a list of the roads that's prioritized where you need to hit first, and you go down that list, and if you don't get to everything you want to get to, don't just throw the list away. You need to, everybody deserves the same fairness as far as taking care of the roads. And there's always going to be a priority, but don't forget about the guy that's on a dead-end road that needs their road graded. I think that we need to take care of everybody if money allows in time. and put the citizens first.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Mr. Brooks, I'll repeat the question. Okay, and our technical people say, please be sure to speak into the mic, so just for the volume of the TV's sake. Same question for you, Mr. Brooks. So as far as road and bridge infrastructure funding, the maintenance backlog for Sequoyah County's district roads and bridges remains a persistent challenge. Given the limited annual budget for road and bridge maintenance, how will you weigh the needs of high-traffic main county roads versus the less traveled yet equally essential rural dirt roads within the district? Describe your prioritization strategy. Will it be based on condition, traffic volume, safety concerns? How will you determine which roads receive maintenance versus those scheduled for major rehab?
Well, I think, Shannon, that, a big part of this is a lot of common sense involved. The guy gets out, drives the roads, checks them out. I mean, like me, I live in a very rural part of the district. I drive these roads all the time. And, guy knows where the bad places are. I mean, you can run so fast down the road and think, well, I better slow down. I've been through here and it gets rough. But also, you've got so much money to work with. And so I think the big part of it is just, getting out and checking things. And, you've got your road foreman and your crew, that they know what's going on. They've been doing it for years. And I think it basically boils mostly down to funds. You've got so much money to work with. And, you may have a road that's 5 miles long and you got one person lives on it, and you got one that's 3 miles long and 15 people that lives on it, So I think you just have to weigh those situations out, and you're probably not going to make everyone happy, but you just have to do the best you can do and work with what you got.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. We'll move to questions for the county assessor position. And Ms. Allen, you're up first. Oklahoma law mandates that the assessor's office maintain an active program of physically viewing and reassessing a portion of the county's property each year to ensure that the values countywide are equitable. What specific steps will you take to manage the required 4-year reappraisal cycle? And how do you ensure that all taxable property is physically viewed within this time frame?
We've been doing that already. When we were trying to I've actually done the reval plan before. I think it was 2018. I helped with getting the revaluation plan. There is a program, a packet that you fill out with the tax commission, and it has all of our information, our parcel information, our staffing information, our budget information. It breaks the county down into 4 reval cycles, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And each year we revisit one of those cycles. Each one of those areas roughly has around 9,000 or so parcels in it. We have currently around 33,000 parcels for the whole county. The reval area has roughly 9. Those numbers change daily because we split and combine parcels all the time. We knew the need in about 2020, or before 2020. We converted to the new system in May of 2020, and once we had done that, we really, really, really saw the need that our data collection processes were not great, and they needed to improve drastically. And one of the things that we did was I decided I wanted to add a second field crew to get it done, and we've done that, and we're continuing to do it. So we're getting ready to make the new plan for the next 4 years. We're finishing up in Salisaw, and we had to move all those reval areas around. 1 became 4, and so on.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. L. Mr. Crawford. Same question about the property reappraisal cycle. Oklahoma law mandates that the assessor's office maintain an active program of physically viewing and reassessing a portion of the county's property each year to ensure equitable values countywide. What specific steps will you take to manage the required 4-year reappraisal cycle, and how will you ensure that all taxable property is physically viewed within this time frame?
Okay, first of all, I'd make sure I got an appraisal crew that got trained well, knew what they were doing to go out and do the appraisal work. If I have to do it myself, I'll go out and do it myself, because that's what I've done for 41 years. So, and I know that she said there's 33,000 parcels in this county, and it's broke up, in the fourth each year. And I'd make sure that the numbers were correct on that, and make sure that the appraisers got out and did their work. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We'll move back to the state senate candidates, and we'll return to Mr. Smith being the first up. Mr. Smith, we're going to talk about rural health care stability.
Yes, sir.
Rural hospitals and healthcare facilities are facing severe financial challenges. Several rural hospitals have closed across the state, including Stillwell and Stigler in this region. Many others are in danger. What can be done to ensure that residents in District 4 have reliable access to local emergency services and that rural healthcare facilities have the state-level support necessary to remain financially viable?
Okay, thank you for that question. I've been looking at that, and I realized that it seems like the larger hospitals and the medical industry seems to be able to pull the majority of the money and pull it in and pool it into certain areas. And I think that there needs to be some legislation passed from the legislators that mandate that all areas should be adequately have facilities. And so I think there was a gentleman, he's a physician that's a senator, that talked about little mini care places with 20 beds in all of the counties, that the rural area has that opportunity, and then begin to really work on identifying where all this money's spent, and then reroute it back to the districts and the small communities, and definitely look at the hospitals and making sure that because there's large monopolies that are going on right now, very big, powerful, rich hospital companies that are monopolizing the medical industry. And we've got to make sure that adequate money should be dispersed equally into the counties, and that we should talk with the local individuals that are over the health care and the emergency systems. And then we should try to see how we can entice medical professionals to come to the communities and give them adequate salaries so that they can successfully take care of the needs of the medical industry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Woods, same question. Rural hospitals and healthcare facilities are facing severe financial challenges. Several rural hospitals have closed across the state, including Stillwell and Stigler in this region. Many others are in danger of closing. What can be done to ensure that residents in District 4 have reliable access to local emergency services, and that rural healthcare facilities have the state-level support necessary to remain financially viable?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. I'll touch on this real quick. When you call an ambulance, you need good roads, and I'll speak to everybody up here. It's spokes in a wheel. We're local government, state government, federal government got to work together. So on some of their questions, that's where the state government would come in and do something called SERB funds to bring, it's $135 million that comes down to local government through something called the COG, and it comes down and it's appropriated to county government for roads and infrastructure. But I touch on that because when you call an ambulance, you need a good road to get to you. I ran a bill and successfully passed a bill called Senate Bill 206, and it made EMS essential. And what that did was it said that now that an EMS provider is declared essential, whether that's municipality owned, county owned, or privately owned, like Patford's privately owned, now they'll be declared essential, and it'll pull down a little more federal money in hopes of more federal money for grants for that kind of service. On the hospital piece, in the big beautiful bill from the federal government, there was $50 billion in there that got broke up amongst the states for rural hospitals and rural health care. So that would be one thing coming down from the federal government for health care. And I touch on that spokes in a wheel. Everything you do is about relationships. And when you come into like the health care piece, having a good relationship with your federal delegation and your state government, It works when you're going to the state capitol of Washington to try to advocate for health care. You need those kind of relationships, and that's why collaboration between people is important, and always reaching out a hand in friendship to people. It goes a long ways, especially when you're dealing with health care and people's needs like that, and EMS. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. All right, we'll go to the county commissioners. Oh, okay. Yeah, we need to switch, don't we? All right, well, Mr. Brooks, you'll be first up this time. Sorry about that. And sorry, Mr. Smith, I put you on spot number one. So, forgot the rules here, so, but, we'll, Mr. Brooks, we're gonna put you on the spot here with the next question will be the county budget and fiscal priorities. Sequoia County government receives and oversees tax revenue from property tax and sales tax to help fund county government offices, sheriff's office and jail operations, road improvements, and fire departments. How will you prioritize spending between the essential services, capital projects, and maintaining a healthy budget reserve to handle the unexpected?
Well, I think it's one of those questions that, when you've never done the job, it's something that's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of studying on. I realize you only have so much money to go to each department, and I know that it's critical. Just like with the sheriff's department, they need the tools, to be supplied with the tools to keep everyone safe, our schools safe, the citizens safe, the county, and it's just like I say, it's one of those things. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know all the answers to your questions, but it's just something that's got to be researched and, kind of dig into it. There's a whole lot to this job that people don't realize, myself included. I always thought it was mostly roads, but there's a lot to it. I've attended the commissioner meetings for the last 5 months, and I've really learned a lot there, and I know there's a whole lot to learn. Like speaking with Commissioner Rogers, he said, I've been in here for 15 years, and I'm learning stuff every day, because things change, so that's really all I have on that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Stump. Read the question. The Sequoia County government receives and oversees tax revenue from property tax and sales tax to help fund county government offices, sheriff's office and jail operations, road improvements, and fire departments. How will you prioritize spending between the essential services, capital projects, and maintaining a healthy budget reserve to handle the unexpected?
Well, I think roads is one of the major things, and also emergency services. Being in the business of being a fireman for 26 years, when people are in need, we've got to get there to help them. We've got to get the ambulances there, fire trucks. Roads is a big thing as far as, some of our fire trucks, the tanker, it's got 3,000 gallons of water on it. We've got to have the roads to maintain, to make sure our emergency services can get to and help the public out. And then, of course, every department has their needs, and I'm like Jason. Until you go through that and go over the different departments and what their needs are and how that they serve the citizens and the public, I think you need to sit down and go over all that. I know the budget for last year in the county was $5.4 million. That's a lot of money. And that's big business, and that's not to be taken lightly. So if I'm elected, until I get in there and go over all that and see exactly where that money needs to go. But I'm a big believer in roads and emergency services, and that includes sheriff department and this support for all the different offices. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Stump. We'll move to the county assessor's race, and Mr. Crawford, you'll be up first. Keep my order correct. We'll start with property records and some questions about just modernizing. The assessor manages property and valuation information that is relied upon by financial institutions, real estate professionals, property insurance companies, government agencies, and others. What improvements can be made to the record keeping and access to these records that can assist these end users?
Well, I think as what's already on, to have a program online that Brandy already has through ACT Data Scout, and it's for the public use. And I think most important thing is to make sure that all your data is entered correctly. Because if you don't have good data in there, it doesn't put out a good value. So that's the most important thing. Make sure when you do your data collection that everything's good on there. And to me, the thing is, you know, for the like banks and stuff coming in, just to make sure that you got the stuff in there correct. I'm just rambling on and keep going off the same thing, but yeah, that's the most important thing I think is just the data collection and the putting it in correctly in the computer, because you're only going to get good values out if you put good stuff in.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Ms. Allen? Same question. The assessor manages property and valuation information that is relied upon by financial institutions, real estate professionals, property insurance companies, government agencies, and others. What improvements can be made to the record keeping and access to these records that can assist these end users?
Improvements can always be made because there's changes daily. And we're all human. We make mistakes. We fat finger stuff all the time. But the thing is finding them, getting them corrected, and doing that. He mentioned ACT Data Scout. When I was first appointed in 21, I went after that mapping program, one, because our old map system was a old DOS system. It was black. You couldn't see it. It was hard. It was easy to use, but it was hard to use. It took a lot more work. And so we went with OneMap, and with OneMap, I got the public website for free that gives the public, and having come from a title and banking background, I knew how important it was to get that information out there for the public where they can click it and see it. And, you know, they help us a lot, too, because if they're just playing around on the internet, they may give us a call and be like, hey, I thought I was supposed to have 15 acres here, but it's only showing 10. Well, great. We'll look it up and see what happened and get it fixed. So it's been a great tool for us, and I'm excited at what's to come with ACT Data Scout and OneMap. So we are planning to renew that contract again and keep moving forward. So I'm grateful for OneMap. That's all I have.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Allen. And next one. No break yet. Okay. All right. And we'll go, and Mr. Woods, you're going to be up first. So
Yes, sir.
You already knew that was coming, didn't you?
Quick, fast.
You're ahead of me. So another major issue in Oklahoma seems to be education. For some reason, it comes up nearly every election cycle.
Yes, sir.
It never goes away. So education funding and local control. Education remains a top priority for many Oklahomans. For rural districts in Adair, Cherokee, and Sequoyah counties, the local school is often the largest employer in the community's hub. In your opinion, are K through 12 schools adequately funded? Should education priorities be established by state government boards and officials in Oklahoma City, or should the local school boards determine the education priorities for their districts? And last, multi-part question here, I apologize for that. What improvements could be made by the legislature?
Yes, sir. So I'll start on the improvement piece first. In 2023, we did the largest teacher pay raise in state history, and it was coupled with a tax credit for charter schools, private schools. We don't really have any of those much in eastern Oklahoma, but what that did do is providing that tax credit. That's a separate pot of money, and as the public school systems in Tulsa and Oklahoma City lost students, actually per pupil funding went up for some rural schools because there was less people pulling out of those urban areas. Meanwhile, the funding formula never changed. So that would be the first piece. The second thing is my granddad was superintendent of Westville schools back in the day. So I've got a lot of family members in public ed. My cousin actually just retired, Vol Woods, out of Keys. He was superintendent there. My sister teaches at a little school called Marietta up just past Stillwell. Another uncle of mine, Carthel Means, if you ever heard of Means Furniture, it's some family of mine. Carthel is superintendent of Marietta. So a lot of people in public ed. This last session, we did a $2,000 teacher pay raise because what you hear in eastern Oklahoma is trying to compete with Missouri, Arkansas, and you get down to Texas trying to compete with states that are taking our teachers. On the mandate piece, I'm for local control. I mean, you have a local elected school board, and on your piece of being the largest employer, like Westville, where I grew up, the Westville Public Schools was, it's probably the second or third largest employer. So to your point, you are very correct that they are large employers in Senate District 4 in a lot of our small communities. But on the mandate piece, we did the bell-to-bell no sale. That was something that come down from state government, and it was something that was crossed off 4 million Oklahomans in every school district. And what we found is that school districts liked that individual mandate because it took the burden off the school board to do it and put it on the legislature, and it was something that was universal across the state, and it really helped our superintendents and administration. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So I appreciate it. All right. Mr. Smith, same question.
Yes, sir.
Education remains a top priority for many Oklahomans. For rural districts in Adair, Cherokee, and Sequoyah counties, the local school is often the largest employer in the community's hub. In your opinion, are K through 12 schools adequately funded? Should education priorities be established by state government boards and officials in Oklahoma City, or should the local school boards determine the education priorities for their districts? And last, what improvements can be made by the legislature?
Okay, I know that this year we passed the largest legislation bill ever for the highest, amount of money being spent. And I think 1.52% of that was supposed to be directed to education. And from what I understand, it's like 50% of that money actually gets into the room. And so to me, I feel like that we've been like good Democrats, throwing good money at a bad problem, stepping back and saying, oh, we put so much money into it and we fixed it. And, for how many years have we thrown good money in a situation that's broken? I think we need to go into the schools and really look at the teachers, the classrooms, because we've got a lot of teachers that are abandoning teaching, for fear over children. And to me, somehow we've got to bring back in security and safety in there. We've got to get more than 50% of all the millions of dollars that we're spending back into our school system. And we've got to figure out how to retain the teachers. And instead of the teachers fearing the students, we should have the students respecting the teachers, Get back to reading and writing and arithmetic. And I think there was something to the tune of a hickory stick, that kind of helped things. And so to me, there's a lot of issues there, but I think that we need to invite the teachers that were back 20 years ago that made the education system great. Stop listening to the politicians, the big lawyers that are trying to run it. They're trying to reinvent the wheel and get back to our basics once again.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move to the county commissioner's race. Mr. Stunt. We'll ask a question about the impact of State Question 847 on county revenue, and I'll explain what State Question 847 is. So, State Question 847, which will be on the November ballot, proposes reducing the annual property tax increase cap for homestead properties from 3% to 1.75%. And we'll have the assessor candidates comment if they need to, but make sure I get this right. But for our other properties, from 5% to 4%, essentially they're going to slow the growth of property tax revenue if this state question passes. Given this reduction in the growth rate of ad valorem tax revenue, how will you adjust the county budget to account for the slower revenue growth in the face of inflation and increased operating cost?
And that's tough because, like everybody knows that the cost of living is going up, and that means you're going to have to cut in different places to come up with that revenue if we're not going to get as much money. I think you need to get in there and see where you can cut different things to make that money go as far as you can make it go. And having less money is, I mean, it's not ideal. You know, it's you've got a budget right now of $5.4 million, and you've got to make that budget stretch as far as you can. Like, I've never been in there, I've never seen the budget, but I'm sure, you know, if we had to, there would be probably ways that we could cut that, but we don't want to cut anything that cuts out any type of essential things that we do for our people. So, you know, until I could get in there and see the budget wise and see where if we had to, it's not ideal. No one wants to cut a budget. No one wants to take money away from assessors or Julie or any of its sheriff. But it's a tough question. You know, and it'd be hard to do. And I think until a guy got in there and really looked over the budget and the books and see if we're spending a little too much here that we don't have to. I just have to get in there and really look at it. And you know, if we had to, we can make it work like we always do. If the budget's short, it's like your house income. If you're short, you make it work. So we can make it work.
Thank you, Mr. Stubb. Mr. Brooks. And when I wrote this question, I probably should have done a better job explaining 847, but I did the best I could. It will be on the ballot, so we got a lot of studying between now and November to do, but because it is a important question that's going to impact you know, county governments and schools and everybody else. But so state question 847, which will be on the November ballot, proposes reducing the annual property tax increase cap for homestead properties from 3% to 1.75%, and for other properties from 5% to 4%. Given this reduction in the growth rate of ad valorem tax revenue, how would you adjust the county budget to account for the slower revenue growth in the face of inflation and increased operating cost?
Well, you know, I think Joel said it pretty good. I mean, you got to get in there and see what the budget is. Just like, you know, I ran my business for 29 years, and, you know, one year you make more money, one year you make less money. You know, I'd like to have new finishing machines every year, every 2 years, but I don't get them. You know, so it just depends on, you know, how much difference the money is, and look at the offices and, you know, see what can be cut if cuts need to be made. And I mean, I really don't think it's, you know, too big a deal. You know, once you can get in there and look at it and see, you know, like I say, you just have to make it work. You have to make, you know, and being in business for myself, I mean, I've always had to make it work. So, like I say, you just have to get in there and check it out and see what you have to work with. It's kind of hard to say when you don't really know what you're working with. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. All right. And Ms. Allen, you're up first this time. Y'all have to help me out. I'm kind of slow. Yeah, Jeff's keeping me pretty good. So, all right, we'll start. This question will be about exemptions and senior support. The gross household income limit for the senior property tax freeze in Sequoyah County recently saw a substantial increase from $65,700 of income to $80,600 in income for the 2026 tax year. The property owner must apply in person at the county assessor's office between January 1st and March 15th of that year. So that timeline's passed, obviously, for this year. How can your office ensure that all eligible seniors are aware of the change in requirements and receive the necessary assistance to file their exemptions correctly and on time? Are there any improvements that can be made to this process? And I'm speaking specifically more to how do we notify people, let them know what the rules are so they can get what they're entitled to?
Well, as soon as we got that information, we were trying to put it out there. We were putting it on the internet and telling your friends, and we decided we wanted to go out in the community years before and hadn't had the opportunity, so we did it this year and tried to get as many people to come see us and even just call if they needed to, because they may have tried to apply in the past and were just right over the line, And we wanted to be sure that they were coming to see us and getting in touch with us, and if they were qualified for that exemption, we wanted them to have it. So we've gone to people's homes to help them, the disabled. They may call and they can't get to us, they can't come through the courthouse, or for whatever reason, we did whatever we could do to let every senior in this county know that if you qualify for this freeze, if you meet this income limit, please, please, please come see us. And they sometimes get an extension on that deadline date with your change of value notices. That extends the exemption out another 30 days. So depending on the date that those go out, you may still be able to file for those exemptions up until April 1st or even, mid-April, depending on our change of value notice 30-day period. That kind of changes every year. We try to get it by March 15th, so they're ready by, April. We have April 15th for protest period, which includes the exemption process. So in Sequoyah County, we had that senior valuation median income limit stayed around the 60s for many, many years until we just got incorporated with the Fort Smith greater metro area. So that, I think that our taxpayers are finally benefiting from working in Fort Smith and living in Sequoyah County. So,
Okay, all right, thank you, Ms. Allen. Mr. Crawford. The gross household income limit for the senior property tax freeze in Sequoyah County recently saw a substantial increase from $65,700 of income to $80,600 in income for the 2026 tax year. The property owner must apply in person at the county assessor's office between January 1st and March 15th. How would your office ensure that all eligible seniors are aware of the change in requirements and receive the necessary assistance to file their exemptions correctly and on time? Are there any improvements that can be made to this process, and specifically again about notification? How do you get the word out to seniors?
Put it on social media, newspaper, mailers, mail stuff out to them. Like Brandy said, you just got to get out there and get the word out to the people to let them know that it's there.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Crawford. So, all right, and we'll move back to the state senate candidates. And no break, right? All right. Well, make sure we don't have a commercial break. Guys got to pay bills around here. So, we're going to talk about state and tribal relations for this session. As a state senator representing Adair, Cherokee, and Sequoyah counties, what specific legislative steps will you take to improve state and tribal relations, particularly regarding cross-jurisdictional law enforcement, infrastructure projects, and the sharing of resources like emergency response services?
Okay. Well, thank you for that question. I have talked to some of the sheriff's department, and I've got some friends that are in the Cherokee Nation as a marshal. And I realize that there's already a cooperation at this time, but mine is just continue to work that. I know with the McGirt and different things that is going on, it's really added some challenges. But mine is to continue to talk to the mayors, to the town leaders, especially to the sheriff's department, like we said, also for the city police, and just continue to see what we need to work on, because I know there's transportation for felonies and different ones that you got to go to the tribes, and then, that you go to the different counties, facilities. And so to me, I think it's kind of like an ongoing, very interesting part of the system right now, to where we're still working out a lot of kinks, and definitely it's a learning curve for me, but I know that I've heard them articulating that there's a good relationship working between the tribes and the state and the federal, because all of that seems to be tied in. But mine is to really go to the experts, listen to them, because as a carpenter, you give me a hammer and a nail and a saw, and I turn into a genius. But on something like this, I would want to refer to the lawyers, definitely the military people, the first responders, the law officers, and definitely get input on that, and then see what is going to be our best path forward for all the citizens in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Woods. As a state senator representing Adair, Cherokee, and Sequoyah counties, what specific legislative steps will you take to improve state and tribal relations, particularly those regarding cross-jurisdictional law enforcement, infrastructure projects, and the sharing of resources like emergency response services?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, treaties before the state of Oklahoma even exists protect tribal sovereignty, and so all the compacts that you have between Cherokee or tribal government and state government, those compacts have to be negotiated ever so often. And what I think is probably going to happen in the future as new leadership in the executive branch of Cherokee government and state government, as that turnover happens, it'll be a chance at a fresh start. And so anytime that the state and tribal government can work together to serve the same constituency, I think everybody's very interested in doing that. And I mentioned that EMS bill earlier. Tribal entities were also able to benefit from that for providing health care or EMS services to their people along with people that aren't tribal. I'm not tribal, but I would still be able to participate in something like that. So anytime that you can have tribal governments and state government, federal government all work together to serve the same people, that's what we're going to do. And I think that's what's going to happen moving forward. And it's what's happened, honestly, in the legislature in my time. We've hit some road bumps, but not everything you see on TV is always how it is. A lot of people are working in good faith in the legislature and in the executive branch to try to really move the needle on tribal issues. And I think there's a lot of people out there working together a lot more than always gets out in the public. And I think you see that in a lot of the things that the state and tribal governments have been able to accomplish together over the last 4 years, because people really are trying to move the needle on things they care about. And I think both parties really have the people in mind, and sometimes they have a different path to get there on how to help those people. But in the end, I think common sense always prevails, and I think that's been the experience over my 4 years in the legislature.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. All right, we'll move to county commissioners. Mr. Brooks, you're up first. We're going to keep the theme going with state and tribal jurisdiction and the local impact. Following the McGirt U.S. Supreme Court decision, coordination between Sequoyah County law enforcement, tribal nations, and the federal agencies is critical in eastern Oklahoma. As county commissioner, what concrete steps will you take to ensure smooth cooperation on local issues such as cross-jurisdictional road work, debris removal, law enforcement, and emergency response that may involve both county and tribal lands within the district?
Well, I think just working with, you got to work with all those departments, figure out what's going on, and have good relationships with them. And once again, here we are on another question that I'm not sure about all this.
My apologies.
It's all new. I appreciate you, Shannon. But I think, the biggest part of it is just working with, other agencies and offices and figuring out what you got to do to meet in the middle, and because we all got to get along and work it out,
Yeah.
But that's what I think. I think you just need to get along. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Stump, same question. Following the McGirt U.S. Supreme Court decision, coordination between Sequoyah County law enforcement, tribal nations, and federal agencies is critical in eastern Oklahoma. As county commissioner, what concrete steps will you take to ensure smooth cooperation on local issues such as the cross-jurisdictional road work, debris removal, law enforcement, and emergency response that may involve both county and tribal lands within the district?
Lucky enough that being on the fire department, that I have had to deal on accidents and storm damage and different emergency disasters. I have had to deal with, Sallisaw PD and the tribal, and it seems to me, communication is key. If everybody communicates, things really become easier. I think you got to have good communication between every one of those groups and know where the boundaries are that you can, say, help out, Cherokee Nation and them to help out you. Again, too, until you know for sure, but I'd love to get in there and talk to Brian and some of the tribal police and even get our local police and fire and all come together and come up with something for me that I could go off of, and to understand that a little bit more.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dunn. All right, to the county assessors, who's up first? Roger's up first. All right, Mr. Crawford. And we are not going to have a tribal state local government cooperation issue with the assessor's office. So instead, we're going to go to the evaluation, protest, and appeal process. The county assessor serves as the first point of contact for taxpayer evaluation protests before they advance to the County Board of Equalization. What internal procedures will you implement to guarantee a thorough and unbiased review of all initial protests filed by citizens? And what metrics will you use to evaluate the fairness of this pre-Board of Equalization review process? So how would you evaluate when somebody's upset? What process would you take it through without going to the ultimate?
Yeah, well, I've dealt with this for the last 41 years, dealing with protests and stuff. But what I try to do is work with them, try to keep them from going to the Board of Equalization, see if there's anything that can be done. And how to do that is based off, you got to have good market values in your computer, in your system, to find comparable sales on the thing. If you don't have good comparable sales, you don't have it, it's kind of hard for you to go against what they're protesting about. So you got to have the good sales, and guess what? You got to do good sales analysis each year to make sure your market's right. But I'll work with anybody that I can and to get their value to where it should be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Ms. Allen? Same question. The county assessor serves as the first point of contact for taxpayer evaluation protests before they advance to the County Board of Equalization. What procedures will you implement to guarantee a thorough and unbiased review of all initial protests filed by citizens? And what metrics will you use to evaluate the fairness of this review process?
Sure. Yes, you have to be able to have good sales analysis and your data. You want we need to be able to defend our values. But like I said, we do make mistakes, and that is the taxpayer's due diligence. We send you a change of value notice every March. You have 30 days to get back with us. And it may be a simple mistake that we made entering something on our side. It could also be something may have gotten unclicked and it became uncapped. New construction, especially, we want you to come see us. We want to make sure that we've got your measurements and everything right. There's lots of things that we can do before it goes to the board. We've not had anything go to the board in 4 years since SLW, they did the switch with Millicent, and Millicent's just now getting started. So we've been successful in keeping your school district's money where it should go. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Allen. All right, we're back to State Center, and I'm assuming we got the right one.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Y'all
Yes,
are
sir.
on cruise control now, so.
Yes, sir. It's flowing good.
All right, thank goodness. So, all right, this question is going to be about tax again. This time we're
Yes,
going to
sir.
talk about property tax. Property tax is a primary source of funding for our county government, county law enforcement, K through 12 schools, public libraries, and career tech school system in Oklahoma. The Oklahoma legislature has considered various forms of property tax reform legislation involving either limiting, reducing, or even completely wiping out property tax as a source of revenue for local government. How would these functions be funded if property tax is eliminated in Oklahoma?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. And you mentioned State Question 847. That was something that I voted yes on, to put that back to the people. All your ad valorem taxes are all constitutional. So ultimately, anything that happens through the legislature on a state question or initiative petition that'll put that on the ballot, the people of Oklahoma will make that decision. And so in the event that they was to decide on State Question 847 in November that they want to reduce their property taxes, and I voted yes on it, I'll be voting yes on it. I advocate for a reduction in your homestead tax going from 3 to 1.75. But in the event that would happen, that the legislature would more than likely have to fill that gap if there was one created. We are appropriating SERB funds to county government. It's for county roads and bridges. So things like that we're doing from the state level that flows through ODOT to help county government. Almost half of our state budget is education. And another piece of it is ad valorem and public ed. And, you talk about economic opportunity and creating jobs and businesses relocating here. You have a lot of schools that are off the funding formula because businesses have relocated here, and the businesses and the homes that were built inside that school district, they're no longer even needing state appropriation, so that frees up money other places. So economic growth through like cutting or lowering the state income tax, and then if the people do decide to lower the homestead exemption, homestead tax from 3% to 1.75, if that does cause ripple effect, then the legislature will have to come back and see about backfilling some of those dollars that are now no longer being collected. But with a reduction in ad valorem taxes, we already have a very cheap and low cost of living compared to surrounding states. So more people will move here, build here. So I think that tax base will actually widen as taxes go down because more people are building, staying here, especially when you create jobs. And that's a pro-family kind of thing because more job creation,
Mr. Wood.
next generation can stay here. Thank you.
Mr. Smith,
Yes, sir.
same question about property tax.
Yes.
Property tax is the primary source of funding for our county governments, county law enforcement, K through 12 schools, public libraries, and career tech school system in Oklahoma. The legislature has considered various forms of property tax legislation involving either limiting, reducing, or even wiping it out totally as a source of revenue for local government. How would these functions be funded if property tax is eliminated?
Okay, thank you for that. I've been talking to people about that, especially when you talk to the older people that are facing health issues, retirement, cost of living going up. They don't know if they're going to be able to live and stay in their homes at the end of the year by paying $900 and on upwards. And so there has to be something done for those that have worked hard, turned the lights on, kept the lights burning bright, to give them that hope that they don't lose everything when they get up into an age process. And so we definitely need to talk about that. I know it needs to be reduced and reappropriated, and I've been talking to people. Where would you rather pay your taxes, at the end of the year, or would you rather add a cent here and a cent here, or 2 cents here and 2 cents there? And I think these are questions that we are to ask because we do need the funds, but at the same time, if we're raising our budget, somebody's got to pay for it. And if we're going to keep raising our budget, it's going to cost us more. So I'm not sure how more people is going to want to move here when we don't seem to have a handle on the cost of our spending in our government. And so it's very important that we address these answers and definitely these questions and try to give a reprieve. And I would say, like some others, at least freeze it at 62 and then figure out how to come in with the percentage and start reducing it. But then at the same time begin to reappropriate it and disperse it. Because we're intelligent people. We can figure out things. We come together and work outside the box.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. All right. Mr. Stump, you're up first. And we're going to talk about an issue that could impact your budget as well, involving State Question 832 and how it would affect county operations. So Oklahoma voters will consider State Question 832 this year. It proposes to raise the state minimum wage to $15 an hour by, I think it's 2029. If passed, how would this mandated wage increase affect the Sequoyah County budget, particularly the payroll for road and bridge maintenance crews? What adjustments would you anticipate to account for any increased personnel costs without raising local taxes?
I'm all for, giving guys extra money. But I think that question is, after so long, it bases our minimum wage to something that's out of state. I think that's the same question that's California. Eventually, it'll get to that. So with us being smaller, I'm not sure on how that would affect us. Us being a smaller county and then them going off of the rate of like a California or something. That's a good, I'd have to look into that a lot more, but any way that there's a way that we could pay our guys more for doing a job that they deserve more money. I would be for that, but looking into that, I don't know that we can be compared to a California when we're South Oklahoma. I just don't. I'd have to look into that a lot more. I've looked into that question some. That's the way I could explain it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Stubb. Mr. Brooks? And it's the questions about the impact of State Question 832 on the county operations. Oklahoma voters will consider the State Question 832 this year's election cycle, which proposes raising the state minimum wage to $15 an hour by about 2029. If passed, how would this wage increase affect the Sequoyah County budget, particularly like payroll for the road and bridge maintenance crews? What adjustments would you anticipate to account for any increased personnel costs without raising local taxes?
Well, you know, I know everyone is for making more money, and I don't blame them. I like to make more money too, but I know this would hurt small businesses. You know, even like mine, or you take just a small business here in town, and you have to start paying all these high dollar wages. You know, and we don't want, like Joel said, we don't want California telling us what we have to pay, and so if you have to raise your prices to pay all this help, then you've got to go up on your prices. Then the consumer's got to pay more money for it, and there's could be ways around it, and it'll hurt. I think it'll hurt a lot of the summertime, the kids' jobs, because people are not going to want to hire people that don't really know anything and have to pay a lot of money when they can hire someone that's more experienced or whatever for the same. I mean, if you understand what I'm saying, it's it just costs. I think it'll cost everybody more money down the road.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Now to assessors, and Ms. Allen's up first. All right, we're going to go back. Again, I told you all this before this started, that this was the toughest office I've ever had to come up with questions for. So
I wondered about you.
yeah. So again, the office, for those that don't know, it's a highly technical, lot of knowledge involving a particular subject. So unlike state senators who have to deal with, you name everything under the sun. So, but we're going to talk about accuracy and technology and valuation. So the assessor's office manages complex records, including floor plans, site plans for new construction, and records of property exchanges. As property developments and valuations evolve, what specific technology upgrades or auditing procedures would you implement to ensure that assessments remain both accurate and equitable for all property owners? And I might add the importance of valuation. Schools rely upon accuracy for bond issues. And property insurance companies rely upon this information that's gathered to help them in valuing properties in an area. Yes. It goes back to all those subjects I mentioned earlier about end users. So, so what could you do in that regard?
Well, we were upgraded to a new CAMA system in 2020. That was a major change for us. There was a lot of new things that we needed to learn, and we didn't even really get into the meat and potatoes of learning that system until about 2022. In fall, we did our first classes at conference on the actual insides of the mechanism. We've tried as best as we could with the knowledge that we had to do what we've always done and get the value and try to get things as fair and consistent as possible for everyone. We do that daily. That's something we look at. We run reports. We do spreadsheets. So many spreadsheets. So many. We have our field collectors. They go out and get the data. They bring it in. We then have data entry people who enter that data, and then it is checked and then rechecked. And then there's spreadsheets and more spreadsheets. So it's a never-ending cycle of the next deadline that we have to have. and the proper information in, and this county's growing so much, so much. And I'm so excited to see what's coming, and our schools are benefiting from it. They are. You can look around and see all of the new things that they have. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So fair and consistency is best we can do. That's our goal every day.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mr. Crawford. The assessor's office manages complex records, including floor plans, site plans for new construction, and records of property exchanges. As property developments and evaluations evolve, what specific technology upgrades or auditing procedures would you implement to ensure that assessments remain both accurate and equitable for all property owners? Like I mentioned, how important they are to schools and bond issues and those type of things. What?
Yeah, the thing about, I've been on the school board at Central for going on my 17th year. I know it's very important for the schools to have the funding because, you've seen back from 97, this ain't answering pretty much the question, 97 when that law was passed to lower the tax increase from 3 to 5%, that hurt the schools. And now if they're wanting to go down lower, it's going to hurt the schools again. But I think the most important thing on the thing is the data collection, making sure everything's accurate when it's done and put in the system right, so you get those good values out. But I think that's the most important thing is to get the data collection correct and to train the field people. And they do have training through the new program we have, which is Landmark, and it's a good system. State before is the ones that updated the system, which you didn't get it updated every year. Landmark keeps up with that, so we do have good values in there now because it's something they do ever so often. They update the system to make sure that we have good values in there, unlike the state. The state didn't go on with it, but that's to me, it's the most important thing is the good data collection.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Crawford. All right, candidates, and we'll now shift. We're out of the questions, so the easy part's over with. So now we're going to go to closing statements. So we'll start with state senate candidates, and who's first? Mr. Smith.
Well, thank you very much. It's been an awesome opportunity to get to talk to every one of you, and I'm looking forward to this new journey. It's not like I'm always trying to do something new, but I can remember last year when I started learning how to fly, I looked over and I see my flight instructor here. And it's very exciting when you take on something new and exciting, but you feel like it's your destiny. And once again, we feel like this is something that we've been called to do. And since we've stepped into this, we've had a lot of great people look on and say, hey, I can see the potential here. We've got the OKGOP certification as being true conservative Republican for the state of Oklahoma. We took the 35-page test and definitely did 85%. And definitely we've had the OK2A look at us and endorse us. Mr. Don Spencer, because we align with that. And definitely we align with leadership that aligns with that. We need someone that's going to be in alignment, have working relationships across the board. And also, we've had MOHA, Miss Liza Greasy, that has come on board and said, look, we see that you care for the people and that you want to make sure the people are healthy. And so we've been endorsed there in Cattlemen's Association in Grove, Oklahoma. Mr. Hogan Apperson has endorsed us because we feel like that our ranchers and the farmers, they need to be looked at again and worked hard. And I know our senator is in that industry, but I think that we need to make them the priority because they have been here for many years. And so mine is to really work for the people, listen to the people, go out and serve the people. I'm not going with my own ideology or thoughts in mind. I'm collecting your thoughts. And we're going to go to the legislation. We're going to vote in leadership that's conservative that will allow all voices to be heard. We haven't had that this year. We've had some very, what would you call it? Things going on, I'll leave it like that. I think they even cut some things short, to do some other things. So just speaking in 007 language there's been a lot of things going on that we should have our elected voices there, and we should have full-time representation. And mine is this. I want to go to the dance with you, and when I get there, I promise I won't look across the room and some other partner and go over there and abandon you, and you have to stand there and watch me. My pledge is that you will be 100%, you will be the priority, and when I go there, I'll go there and serve you, and that will be what I will do. Thank you for this time. Pray for us. Go out and vote for us. Tell all your relatives. And on June 16th, let's bring in a victory for the people and for the voice of the people once again to be heard. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
The
Mr. Woods.
abandonment piece, the abandoned the district piece that you reference is kind of comical, because what he's referencing is my military service, and that's something that I did after winning a Republican runoff, as I enlisted in the Oklahoma Air National Guard as security forces. So never have abandoned the district. I raised my right hand again and pledged to give my life, if necessary, in service to something greater than myself, and that's military, and that's this country. And I ran for office because I fear socialism. I joined the military because I fear socialism. And I want to leave this state and our district a little better than I found it. Sometimes that takes time. I'm extremely proud of the 4 years that District 4 gave me. I think it's been productive, from tax cuts to military appropriation to water appropriation, economic development, job creation, everything I campaigned on. I'm very proud of the 4 years that District 4 gave me. I'm proud of the life experience that I was able to bring to the state capitol as a farmer and small business owner, and as someone that grew up around school teachers and public ed. And I'm very proud of the life experience that I have then and that I've gained over 4 years in the legislature and with my military service. So those are all things that I fight for. I'm on ag, rural economic development, appropriation. I'm chairman of General Government Transportation Appropriation, vice chair Energy, vice chair Military and Veterans Affairs. Honored to have the sheriff's endorsement from this county, Jim Rogers, commissioner's endorsement, Josh West's endorsement, the NRA's endorsement, Farm Bureau's endorsement, and the list goes on and on. So honored that those groups and those individuals trust me enough to lead this district for another 4 years, and I'd be honored to have your vote. I've given my cell number out to anybody that wants it. I'll give it out again to anybody who wants it after we get out of here. But call me, text me, and I'll be there. I'll answer the phone. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Brooks.
Well, I'd just like to thank everybody again for coming out tonight and listening to us. And I'd like to thank my wife. She's run to all these meetings and everything I go to. I ask her, I say, you want to go to this tomorrow? She'll say, no, but I'll go. So I want to thank her. And, as I mentioned earlier, I've owned and operated my own business for 29 years. And in those years, pouring concrete, I've poured roads, bridges, low water crossings, box culverts, ditch liners, curbs, gutters, numerous parking lots, houses, barns. I mean, I look around in here and see faces that I've worked for. And, and I've been fortunate enough to work with guys, some of the best guys in the business in dirt work and things like that have taught me a lot over the years, like I say, 29 years worth. And, working with these people that, I feel like they're like me. You do a job for someone, you don't want to take a man's money unless you do a good job. And, I've built my business on that, and got a lot of repeat business in 29 years. And, I'm not scared of hard work and long hours. And, if I'm elected, I definitely willing to roll up my sleeves and go to work and figure this thing out. I know I told you I don't know a whole lot about a lot of your questions, maybe this one and that one, but I feel like, it takes a lot of experience, to learn all these things, and, I can hire a guy tomorrow and he's not going to know what's going on, so, but that's the reason you have the other commissioners in there to look to and to lean on. You got good people to work with that'll help you out. Commissioner Rogers has also said, whoever gets elected, call me anytime you have a problem, you need something, give me a call. And so, there's lifelines there to holler at people and to get things figured out. But I would definitely like to be your county commissioner, and I'm asking for your vote on June 16th, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Stump.
I want to thank my wife. She's done the same thing. She's went to all these events with us and supported me. And I'd like to thank Jason too. You know, him and I think we've ran a really good campaign. We've been class. We've shaken hands every time we see each other. We talk. He needed anything from me, I'll give it to him. And I think he feels the same way. And that's hard to come by, having two guys like us, and I appreciate you. With that being said, you know, I've dedicated a lot of years, 26 years, to my business and serving the public. I have to serve the public, you know, flooring and building showers and anything to do finishing houses. That's what we do. Also, you know, the fire department's been a big part of my life. You know, I think that being on the fire department and representing your city and representing your county and representing your department is something bigger than myself. And I'm no better than anybody here, and I really do think that. I wouldn't ask any of my guys on the fire department or my guys on flooring to do something that I wouldn't do myself. And that's just the way I was raised. I'm no better than anybody. I'm no better than the guys that I will be leading if I'm elected. And if it takes getting in there and we're shorthanded, rolling up my sleeves and going to work. You know, I've ran equipment, and that's nothing new. Kind of a little joke to my friends. They said, you get in there, you get a little bit of time off. What do you want to do? I said, I want to hop in a road grader and learn how to drive that thing. May have to have the guy that drives it every day follow me to fix my mess ups, but I'll try it. But I think with serving the citizens and the county, I've got a lot more to give to that. Like I say, I'm young enough to give a lot more, and I would just appreciate consideration of your vote on June 16th, and I really appreciate you guys and the time y'all put into this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Which one's first? I'm ready. Okay.
I didn't catch what you said.
I was asking who was first, and then you're up there first, so you're the winner.
We were just going in line down the table. Okay. I want to thank everyone again for taking the time to be here tonight and listening to all of us. The assessor's office plays an important role in our community. The work affects taxpayers, schools, cities, emergency services, and county government as a whole. We rely on being as accurate as we can, transparent, and fair to everyone. I'm proud of the progress that we've made to improve our public access, modernize our systems, strengthen our field operations, and continue preparing for future challenges facing the assessor's office across Oklahoma. Most of all, I'm proud of our team. The people serving in this office are hardworking public servants who continue to train, learn, and grow because they care deeply about serving the taxpayers of Sequoyah County. So I often compare the assessor's office to a bus. The assessor may drive the bus, but every deputy has an important seat and responsibility. Some focus on mapping, some on exemptions, some on deeds and transfers, some on inspections, data collections, customer service, or valuation work. Each role is different, but every role matters. When everyone is working together, the office moves forward efficiently and serves taxpayers effectively. The same concept applies to our CAMA system. Sales may drive the valuation process, but sales alone don't make the system work. Just like a bus engine, there are many components working together behind the scenes: parcel mapping, ownership records, property characteristics, exemptions, inspections, soil data, ag land, neighborhood codes, quality control, and data entry. And protests also. If one component isn't functioning properly, the entire system can be affected. That's why I believe investing in our people, our process, and our technology. When all the parts are working together, we can provide fair, accurate, and consistent assessments for the taxpayers of Sequoyah County. Please vote for me on June 16th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Mr. Crawford.
First of all, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Also like to thank my wife and daughter for being here tonight. They're both teachers here at Sallisaw. My wife teaches 5th grade, daughter teaches 3rd grade. And, this isn't about me. Doing this isn't about me. It's all about glorifying God and all this. And I'm just thankful that I have the experience to do this. And I think I'm not a man of many words, as you've seen tonight. I don't say a whole lot, but I let my work be my words, my actions be my words. But I ask for your vote June 16th. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Crawford. As Jeff comes forward, I'll close us out here. As your moderator, I want to thank you for your patience and understanding with my questions. I'm sure the county commissioner candidates will get tired of the word budget. They'll probably never want to hear it again for the rest of their life. So, but I appreciate again your willingness to put yourself out there in this campaign and election. And good luck. Wish good luck to all of you.
Thanks, Shannon. I just want to thank Shannon for coming up with the questions, especially the assessor ones. As difficult as those were to read, I'm sure that answering them wasn't any easier.
Yeah.
But I would also want to thank Senator Woods and Mr. Smith for driving to Sallisaw. The rest of us are already here. They came in, and having Senate campaigns make time to be here is a big deal for us, and we really appreciate you all both being here. And as for you all, I already know you, and I'm happy for the crowd we have here tonight, and I want to see lots of voter turnout. The best way we can help them and help ourselves is to go vote. And with all due respect, you all have more influence on our lives than just about anybody else that we're able to elect at a per vote basis. So please go vote. And otherwise, thank you all very much and have a great evening.
You're watching Mix TV.